Welcome. Thank you for joining. Thank you for clicking on the link. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
This is Does This Work, a comedy podcast. My name is Jared Herft. I'm joined today by
Not Jared Herft.
a fantastic man, actually. Someone whose help this podcast would probably not have happened. He's a teacher. He's a comedian. He's an MC. He's a room runner. He's British and he likes to complain. Meczes. Is that the correct pronunciation?
I couldn't have pronounced it better
Oh,
myself.
fantastic. Let's get some applause going for you right here, Jared, in the edit. Thank you.
Yeah, I love that.
I love a bit of applause, as well as when I'm doing the edit and I put the applause in.
I kind of got used to not having applause. Yeah. A bit like not having laughs. I kind of have grown comfortable with that. I think you have to.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yes.
Depending on your style. I mean, I do think some people don't progress because they've got used to the laughs and then they want a new bit in there and they're not getting any laughs and they think, oh, better not carry on. And they go back to their old material.
Dangerous place to be as a comedian, because you will never be better than you currently are if you're not trying out new things and failing, because it's such a discomfort to have this new stuff and risk it bombing, and then you're not risking the stage time, but that 5 or whatever minutes that you could have been killing, you are now not. But it's all working it out, right?
Absolutely.
You're asking yourself the question, does this work?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes the answer is no.
And sometimes the answer is definitely no.
Yeah, definitely not. Sometimes the audience will just tell you that with one of these.
And then when you see that, you think, okay, let's give this another 30 times to find out whether it is definitely no.
Or one of these.
And then eventually you get a breakthrough moment and you go, it's definitely no.
Yeah. But thank you again for joining me.
You're welcome.
So before I ask my first question, as I said in Ant's intro, when I was contemplating doing a podcast, to be fair, there was no contemplation. There was no plan to start a podcast. I've always wanted to do one, in the sense that I always thought it would be a fun project.
Yep.
But our good mutual friend, Adam Bloom, was in town. I was not a friend of mine at the time, I should say. You're the one who connected us up. But my wife was like, why don't you interview him on your podcast while he's here? And I said, I don't have a podcast. And she said, well, start one. And I was like, okay, well, yeah, why not? And if if the first one's good, I'll keep it going. Or I
thought, if this works, then does this work?
Yeah, that's correct.
Become a podcast.
Yeah, does this work?
And you never know. You might actually get your wife, whose name we won't mention, just in case she doesn't want to be known on the podcast. Yeah. So we'll just call her A.
I do mention her a bit, so the people are aware of it.
Okay.
But yeah, that was actually the first episode with Adam. There was no name. I said insert title here. If you remember, you were in the room.
I was present at that occasion. Yeah, behind the camera, in fact. Yeah.
So my wife was a big contributing factor, and I thought, well, I'll reach out to Ant and see if he can just float the question to Adam, because I'd already done those little reels for him before he came.
Yeah, you did those for me, actually.
Yeah.
And I appreciate
that. No problem at all. I just thought it needed a little bit of
video. In fact, I feel we didn't plug you enough at the time.
Oh, so that's okay.
Let's plug you now and say this was the man behind those, and therefore you should get behind this podcast and ask the question, does this work?
Yeah. And then so I thought I'll reach out to Ant and I'll see if Ant can just swing the question to him. Does he think, if all good, no hurt feelings, if it's a firm no? Yeah. And Adam was kind enough to say sure. I even think I said even 10 minutes would be enough. Because at that point I thought maybe 10-minute pod would be enough for people.
I think once we got to the 4-hour point, I did think to myself, probably I better put some more money in the parking meter.
Yeah. But that was good, and then the ball kept rolling, right? So the next two after that, we had Gavin Baskerville and Sean Conway. Yeah. Both legends.
Would have been nice if you had Sean Connery.
That would be
liked
great.
That.
Yeah.
He was dead, but
he would have walked in, slapped my wife, and sat down on the couch.
He would have slapped your wife.
Hey, he's you didn't see the interview with him talking about how women sometimes need a good slap?
No, I didn't.
Let's bring it up now.
It's just, I mean, who hasn't seen that interview?
I'm going to bring it up here.
You think it's good to slap a woman?
I don't think it's that bad. I think that it depends entirely on the circumstances and if it merits it. If you have tried everything else, I think it's absolutely right.
Yeah, perfect.
Right, cool.
Okay, I can't wait to see that interview.
Yeah. We're going to pause.
Because that will definitely... Because no one wants... we should advocate for that clearly.
No, we're going to... I'll put a disclaimer. And Meczes and the Does This Work podcast team of me do not believe in smacking women.
No.
But no, there's a very famous interview from years ago now, and he was like...
I don't even agree with women taking smack, so...
He was questioned about it. He's like, do you still believe this? Years later, he was like, absolutely, yes.
Is that an impression of a different Sean? Is that Sean Conway?
That was Sean Conway.
Sean Conway, yeah.
Doing Sean Connery.
Yeah, perfect. I like it.
But those two came on, Conway and Gav Baskerville, and that was great. And then this came together. My wife went and got these chairs and the rug and the thing, and I 3D printed my knickknacks here.
And you can't see it, but this room is amazing. It's massive.
It's huge.
It's so big. It's like the TARDIS in here, in fact.
In fact, I'm behind the keyboard over there. You know where the keyboard is? I've got David Tennant behind the keyboard working.
Because he is the only doctor, obviously.
Yeah.
There are no other doctors.
He was the first one that came to my mind. Matt Smith is running sound over here. Thank you, Matt Smith.
I'm glad you've remembered there's more than one doctor.
There's like
quite a
14 now, isn't
it's
it?
quite a few,
I mean, I've got the TARDIS up there,
except
so I am a fan.
in the original books, there were only 13 regenerations, so... I'm not sure how they got around that idea, but there you go.
They gave him more regenerations.
Yeah, that would be how that works.
You're a fan of the absurd, right?
I think what it was this thing called, what's it called? Money.
Yeah.
Drove that particular decision.
Absolutely. And because I think it was, who was this Scottish one who was the doctor?
David Tennant.
Peter Capaldi.
Yeah, also Scottish.
Yeah, sorry.
David Tennant, also Scottish.
Yeah. But Peter Capaldi's, when it was Matt Smith regenerating into Peter Capaldi, that they somehow... cracks in space and time, whatever, he was given another 12 regenerations or something.
That's exactly what needs to happen
to
all of us. Right?
Also, they found out that the Doctor was actually originally a woman. His first ever...
They found this out, did they?
Yeah.
The original creator
The original creator.
Yeah. I'm sure that would be very sort of 1960s, wouldn't it? They went, when we first invented this, we came up with this idea that at some point the Doctor would be a woman.
That's right, yeah.
And we're projecting forward, and we're ready for that.
Retconning stuff. But they had like Jodie Whittaker, who did a great job.
Yeah.
But then
both in Broadchurch.
Yes,
not
her and
Peter
David
Capaldi.
Tennant.
He wasn't in Broadchurch.
He was in. He was in like a much more narrow church, I think.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. Not really a church fan, was he? He was just sort of anti-church kind of guy.
Yeah, but it was during Jodie Whittaker's run that they had some backstory about how like she found out that she was actually the original, original Time Lord who landed on some planet of people, and they used her regenerative powers to give themselves this power, and they became Time Lords. So it turns out Doctor Who is like some godlike figure now.
No wonder that we use who, because it's confusing, isn't it? He or she or they must be incredibly confused. Going through time, that's problematic anyway.
Yeah.
Unless you go with Einstein's theory of relativity and you know that it's a single point in time, just depending on how fast you're going. Of course, you would know that.
You are a teacher of science, no?
I am a teacher of science, but science that actually can be done.
Can work, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I've got two time machines up there. I've got the TARDIS and the DeLorean from Back to the Future.
Yeah. Have you ever travelled at 88 kilometres per hour?
I have. Yeah.
You have. Did you find that things changed for you?
No, but I didn't have my flux capacitor. Also,
or a DeLorean.
I didn't have the 1.21 gigawatts of power necessary to travel.
That's kind of disappointing.
And
you couldn't find Michael J. Fox to come with you.
No, yeah. His performance in that was great, but it was a little shaky.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, that wow.
Look, I've got to ask you a question.
I can't wait for a question.
Why comedy, Anne? Why comedy is the first question. It's an obvious question. Why comedy?
Why comedy?
Do you watch the podcast? I ask everyone this question.
Yeah, it's a great... I've watched a lot of your podcast. It would be fair to say I saw the very first one.
Idma tried to say
I saw the original before the edit podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
And so I have watched bits and bobs of your podcast, if I'm honest. I haven't watched the whole thing.
That's fine. Who's got time to watch every single episode?
Absolutely. Why comedy? I think comedy is it's funny. It's good to laugh about things. Life is challenging at times, and I think to be able to laugh about things is important. And I think comedy is such a broad thing, like music, I suppose, given that you're a musician as well. I think, there's a whole range of styles and personas and things that make you laugh. But I think the absurdity of life is also worth looking at.
Yeah.
And I guess I've always liked comedy from a very young age. I used to laugh when I was younger. Obviously, I've stopped that now.
Yeah, well, you'll find that out, viewers, when you get older. The laughter just stops.
You got to. Yeah. Why would you laugh?
Yeah. What's to laugh at?
You just want to look at life and go. Even just state that's funny without actually laughing is important, I think.
That's about as much feedback as other comedians give you anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And I enjoy that. I mean, they enjoy it when it goes wrong. That's the best bit, actually. In fact, those moments can be quite funny. But I think, look, life is too serious sometimes, and I think it's good to be able to have an outlet and enjoy life where you can.
Yeah.
Because, all of us face some difficult things in life. There are some challenges, and to be able to laugh about things and see the funny side, I think is very important.
So then who were your sort of comedy heroes growing up?
Well, I think I used to like shows like, we talked about the young ones prior to going on to the podcast, and that would probably be one of the first shows. But I remember people like this guy called Dave Allen, who'd sit on a store and do comedy.
Yeah.
Irish fellow, he was good. Jasper Carrott, I really liked when I was a kid growing up. I thought he was fantastic. His daughter was in The Office, the original Office. She was the love interest of Martin.
Oh, the secretary?
That's right. Yeah. So I always enjoyed comedy, watching it. And at quite a young age, I'd be doing skits and sketches with people. We'd do, sketches with more than one person involved, and they were always a bit of fun. And then people said to me when I was probably in my early 20s, what would be your ideal job? And I said, I'll stand-up comedian. And they said, I'll go and do it then. And I said, no. And they said, why not? I said, because I know how difficult it is.
Yeah. And how did you know how difficult it was?
Because I just know, like when you do teaching, it's a captive audience. They've got no choice, right? Yeah. But you just know that there's a difference between conversational comedy, or just when you're just being fun and having a laugh with your mates, and actually performing, I suppose, and how you make that look authentic at the same time as finding the different angle that makes it funny, that people can see the absurdity of what life is like. And it's not, and what you find funny sometimes, and especially if you don't get the initial response of people laughing, can be quite challenging.
Yes.
So I suppose I knew that was difficult. So it took me I can remember sitting out on the quayside in Newcastle upon Tyne in the UK, and so I was asked that question, and it took me another 20 odd years before I actually went on stage and did it. But throughout that time, people had said, you should do stand-up comedy. Yeah. And I went, yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because people get told that a lot, right? Like the comedians that do comedy, I feel like a lot of them, if not majority of them, have been told that. Like, you should do comedy, you're very funny. Yeah. But every group has a funny person that is funny in groups but shouldn't do comedy. Like, couldn't do comedy. So it's funny that it sticks for some of us, you know what I mean? Sure. On stage, you do have a very specific cadence and comedic rhythm. Yeah. Was that something that you set out to do immediately, or did you sort of find your way as you went along?
Yes and no to that. I think I had an idea about what I thought would be my style.
Yeah.
And then I think you lose confidence in that, and then you try other things because, obviously things that can be more successful. I also think sort of context also affects how you perform, and you think, okay, maybe I need to change it because I'm not getting. You feel like you're not getting anywhere, and so then I think you try different styles. So I tried an angry style, and it was becoming popular, inverted commas, but I wasn't enjoying myself. And I think you've got to be able to enjoy it. You've got to enjoy what you do, and it didn't fit with who I am as a person. I just thought, I don't like this at all. This is just this is just angry. Yeah. Angry ant. Which is I could have started singing a song and that would have been amazing. But I just think it didn't really work for what I wanted. And then you kind of get to a point of going, all right, whether people like it or not, I have to be true to who I am and what works for me. So it's not me on stage, although it is an expression and exaggeration of part of who I am.
Yeah.
So I know that the sort of more dry, delusional sort of, not delusional, he's disillusioned with life and wants to point things out to you that you should be aware of, even though you're not, and he's irritated by it.
Yeah.
So in essence, that's kind of the stage persona, I think. And so awkward silences, those sort of moments are important for the character. But there's an undercurrent often of what's been said, even though I never actually say what the undercurrent is. From time to time, I hint at it. Other times I go, perhaps I've written a couple of more gritty bits more recently, which do sort of touch on those ideas a little bit more, and I think maybe that's the direction I'll go once I'm a bit more confident in the style. I think.
So you think your style's sort of still on the change, like on the
I think you have to become. Look, I think I know what it is on stage, and I think I lean into that. I think it's challenging when you're not getting the laughs and people go, oh, that's just bad writing or whatever, and maybe they're right. I wouldn't, but I just think you can start to lose confidence in what it is that you're bringing.
Right.
And I think I'm at my best when I'm feeling relaxed and being confident and just leaning into this style. I think I'm at my worst when I'm worried too much about what others are thinking.
Right.
And it's not, I don't think that means I wouldn't want people to misunderstand that, because what people can think is, oh, he doesn't care if he doesn't get the laughs, or he's just prepared to be terrible all the time. I'm not saying that at all. I think I'm not prepared to be terrible all the time, because I'm always aware of what hits and what doesn't hit. But I also think that my audience would be quite specific. I think it is a very much a different style that I'm going for. So I don't think I do well in particular environments. But I think that it's on me to try and make that work. And I think finding the answer to that, finding out how that will work, is actually an important part of the process.
And it's also such it's an admirable thing, first of all, but I feel like it's harder in a lot of respects, because you are looking for your audience. You know what I mean? Like, eventually the hard work pays off and the audiences come to see you for who you like. People go and see Jeselnik, right?
Yeah.
But they're not going if they don't know who he is, and they because they know it's going to be dark, they know it's going to be offensive, they know there's going to be a lot of left turns, and they go expecting that, and then they're fans of him. But if you're someone who's easily offended or whatever, you're not going to go and see that guy, because he's not your comedian, you're not his audience.
But I think also we can enjoy a wide range. I think audiences are sometimes surprised at how good mates we can be with people who are very different in style, and they don't realise that it's not. We can appreciate the different styles of comedy and find it funny, even if we know we can't do that. I know there's certain styles that just doesn't work for me, and wouldn't work for me, and wouldn't work for my persona, and it'd be the same for you. And I think finding your voice is quite a key part to it. And then once you're comfortable with that, I think you can write so much more to that.
And it's a constant search for your voice as well. I think, like, I've contemplated. I'm still pretty early on, where I've enough that I could still, people don't know me, so I can go and try stuff out. I can go and deliver all my stuff as angry as possible. You know what I mean? My kid put his dick in my ear. You know what I mean? And see how that goes.
And if he does that, I mean, you might like that. Well, you might not.
Or I could go completely like deadpan, just one hand in the pocket. All shrugs and shoulders, and and then just deliver it completely. A lot of the time I'm going there as the nice guy, you know what I mean? I'm just telling these jokes, I'm looking for reactions, I'm laughing sometimes at my own things. And I feel like that could be a little played out. So, I'm willing to sort of just keep going in there and changing things around and using the stage time as a very slow moulding process.
But I also think there are people who are joke tellers, and I think they'll tell jokes where I think I'm looking for there to be a very specific persona on stage. So I want the people to remember the person on stage and think, I like him or not, as the case may be, but because of who he is on stage. And they've gone because of that style. And there are some left turns in there, and there's some things they're not expecting, and there's energy at unexpected times. Because obviously, I don't go for the high energy. I'm not a Wolfie.
Yeah.
So there's no high energy, so I have to address that pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And I've started thinking about how I do that when I first come onto stage, particularly if I follow someone like Wolfie on stage. Because you want to tell the audience, oh, by the way, if you're expecting this, good luck, because that's not what you're going to get with the particular character that I'm playing on stage. So the energy is different, the style is different. It's going to be dry, it's going to be absurd, it's going to have an undercurrent of message, but there also needs to be some connectivity points in there, and I think that's where I'm looking at how can I make those connections a little bit easier, because sometimes I think the jump is a bit too far, and that's a learning area for me to sort of make it, instead of being 1-2-4, I think some of mine are 1-2-6. And sometimes I'll be on the way home, but I kind of think that's good when I want to deconstruct something. But it's not good if you're trying to bring the audience along on the journey with you. So I have to do that.
I noticed my good friend Dean Courtney. Was he did his first gong and won. But he came out with the very just stoic British, all right, and got a huge laugh. I was like. Those one word was like enough, and the cadence and the way he spoke was enough to get a response, regardless of who was on before him or after him. He comes out and he looks a little bit like he just looks like not grumpy, but like all right, you know.
His style is very different from mine, obviously.
So I mean, getting them on board immediately with that cadence as well, though, is I feel like as soon as they get it, they get it. But
But I think the gong show is a very specific style as well. So I think, it doesn't mean I shouldn't work harder to do better at it, but I just think it doesn't particularly lend itself to my style. And if you talk to certain people who I would admire and hold up in high esteem, they would say the gong show wouldn't be for them. So people like James Acaster would say very clearly, if you've ever heard him interviewed, that he did one gong show, not for him. Surprised. He got angry at it, which fair enough. And I don't get angry at it. It's a show. You've got to enjoy it for what it is, and go there with the expectation. It doesn't matter, because I actually had less plates than Dean when he won that night. But never mind, I got gonged off.
Oh right.
I laughed. I should never laugh on a podcast, or ever, in fact.
Ruin the illusion.
Ruin the illusion.
Well, I mean, even some people that do the gong here are it's not for them, but we do it for the time on stage. For the if it works here, it works everywhere kind of mentality.
I think the danger is too strong a word. It probably is, but I think if people think that's a route through to successful comedy, I would disagree with that. So I think. And people say, well, naturally you'd say that, and because you don't get through on the gong. But I think it's more to do with the fact that if people see that, aspire to that to get onto the comedy lounge, I think that's probably not the right route to go, because I think comedy's a much broader brushstroke than that. And I think if you lean into that directionally, I think you'll end up with a very narrow brand of comedy, which is one-dimensional is too harsh. And people listen to this would probably look at it and go, there's a lot broader than that. And I'd say, there's some really good writers who do very well at the gong show. But I just think gong doesn't represent all of the comedy styles that exist there. No. And then people come across and who would never dream of doing gong or wouldn't want to do gong, but they'll do very well. I mean, Adam, he's not into gong, doing a gong show. But I also get inspired by people like Joe Kent Waters, who does Frankie Munro as a character,
right? And
he won the BBC Young Comedian or New Act, I think, and then he's gone on and he won awards at Edinburgh, and he's been on 8 out of 10 Cats in the Dictionary Corner. He's doing great, but lasted 10 seconds on gong. Do you know what I mean? So, and you go, that's because it's absurd. And he's talking about carrying a trowel, and he's taking a wallet off somebody in the front of the audience, which I loved when I saw it on the Saturday night, which followed the gong show. And half the audience were like, what the heck is going on? Yeah. And the other half of the audience are thinking, this is fantastic. And I'm in that other half of the audience just loving watching the audience split, thinking, what the hell is going on?
I love watching Felix.
Yeah, Felix, brilliant. I love him.
He's great. In
Very
fact,
talented.
Huge shout out. This is not going to be out for a while. I'm going to show him this clip because I love watching him. He does a couple of jokes that I think are brilliant. I'm not going to ruin his jokes.
No, that's not Bernie's material.
But
that's Bernie's material.
All 6 of you watching. But there was a night the other night he did one of his great ones, and I, at the back of the Comedy Factory, lost it.
Yeah.
The audience were like, there were a couple of groans, a couple of laughs, and a lot of silence. But I thought it was great, and I was like, I just love watching his stuff because like it's one of those things. It's like I get it. I got what you're doing, and it's such a good worded joke that like it should work on a broad sort of thing. Yeah. But like so for Gong, audiences are there for blood normally. Like,
but it's not just Gong because we could just sort of beat up on Gong.
Yeah.
I think there's also there are gatekeepers or put themselves in the position of gatekeepers who think, oh, this is what comedy is. And I'm like, I don't know, is it? I'm not sure it is. And then I look at it and go, no, to me, you've just distilled it down to a style of comedy that's not really that different from anybody. And when you actually read reviews, like even from Raw, the reviews by Chortle were quite interesting to me. And they're always looking for a point of difference because otherwise they see it as very much this is all the same.
Yeah.
And it's not. I mean, and that's not beating down on anyone who got through to Raw. I actually really had high hopes for Martin because I love Martin. I think he's a great lad. And I really wanted him to do well over in the Raw in Melbourne because I actually believe he could win
he could go all the way.
But even the review on Martin was not kind, really. It's the perspective from the guy who works for Chortle who's seen years of comedy and styles, and I think Martin is. I like him. I think he's got an absurdity. I think he's brave in what he does. I think he's got some really. I think he's a very good joke writer. Yeah. But it just wasn't for the Chortle reviewer. But it was with interest because the main commentary that came through the Chortle reviews of all of them was mental health. There's not mental health again. And I understood where he was coming from. It was like people who are talking about mental health are going from one particular point of view, really. What he was looking for is where's the different point of view that expresses it slightly differently. And I understand that. So when I watch certain people on their reels, like Lorna, she's Lorna Rose, I can't remember her surname at the moment. She's fantastic because she does these sketches which are funny because it plays on words. Again, I don't want to burn her material. It is on YouTube, but nonetheless, Lorna's stuff is absurd. It's different. It's slightly out there, and it makes me laugh because you can say she's got a point of difference. Which same with Joe Kent Waters when he's doing Frankie Munro. Same with some of these other people who are just doing something a bit different. And they're the guys who are going places overseas. You could argue to some extent Sam Campbell's a bit different in his style. Obviously, we love Sam. Sam did well when he did his Edinburgh show last year. But, that's the thing. Comedy's a broad brushstroke. I've obviously mentioned a lot of Australians and British comedians wherever I go. But I know that there's a lot of Americans. And we talked earlier about who got me into comedy. Well, Robin Williams. I loved Robin Williams, American, not British. But Dead Poets Society was a film that actually was the catalyst for me becoming a teacher. I thought, I want to be a teacher like that.
I thought you were going to say becoming a comedian.
No, definitely not. It's like, I'm not going to be able to make it as a comedian. Let's make it as a teacher.
Because he's like one of my favourite actors. He's Robin Williams, famous comedic actor. And
I watched him in Mork and Mindy, and I loved the off-script bits. There was a sort of loose script which Pam Dulbar, who was playing Mindy, she's following the script. And she can tell sometimes, I have no idea where Robin Williams is going to go. You can see that in her face, but she thinks we'll end up at the right place. Yeah. He's just going to go off piste, and that's going to be it.
Peak drugs at that point, wasn't he?
Probably. I'm not. I don't know during Mork and Mindy. After that, for sure. And there were some terrible bombing films that he did. But then when he did Dead Poets Society, and obviously he's done other amazing films during that period of time, and obviously there's Good Will Hunting, etc., and the list Awakenings was. Actually, is he in Awakenings? I think he is in there.
I think I discovered his
Robert De Niro as well.
Comedy movies first, and then his stand up, and then his drama movies. Yeah. So like I'm watching Mrs. Doubtfire, and
you didn't watch Popeye?
I know. I did. Popeye
not
was
a classic.
No,
I would
Popeye
say not
was
a classic.
Never made it on the VHS.
No. It's probably stuck on Betamax.
Yeah. But it was Hook. I loved Hook.
Good film.
Yeah, I hired that movie out every week and watched it. Watched Hook, playing an adult Peter Pan. On paper, what a bizarre thing! Like, Robin Williams in tights, playing Peter Pan. Like, what? And then he just made it work so well. Like, a lot of heart to that movie. And then Mrs. Doubtfire, all the comedy movies, Nutty Professor.
Yeah,
not Nutty Professor.
Eddie Murphy.
What was it?
Who's that?
Flubber.
Eddie
sorry,
Murphy.
Flubber.
Flubber. Yeah.
Which, because it was funny because the Nutty Professor.
Yeah.
Is a completely different story, but the absent-minded professor.
Yeah.
With
Steve Martin.
Yes.
That's a short, right?
No, not Steve Martin.
Sorry. No, the absent-minded professor. Sorry. There's a short with Steve Martin, which I think about him going to a restaurant. You should watch it.
Oh, no, I'm talking about
absolutely
the
amazing.
Jerry Lewis movie.
Yeah.
I think it was Absent-Minded Professor, where it's basically the premise of Flubber.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Right? So Flubber is the substance that he makes as a scientist and it makes him bounce. So Jerry Lewis was in that, in Absent-Minded Professor, and then they had the Nutty Professor, and I was like, oh, this is what this is going to be. Yeah. But that was just Eddie Murphy playing a multiple characters. Another fantastic film. And then Robin Williams did Flubber, and then found his stand-up. And sometimes, when you watch these like family movies, and then you find their stand-up comedy, you're like, whoa, this is adult.
Very wholesome.
Yeah.
Wholesome stuff.
Yeah.
Just there for the whole family.
This is not Peter Pan.
Just sit down there. You sat down there at Christmas Day, just put on one of those albums, as they call them, are brilliant. You're going to love it. You're never going to be offended by any of that because there's no swearing or anything like that.
No, no. He doesn't.
So it's very high level. He
doesn't talk about cunnilingus at all.
No,
nothing to do with that.
Is that just in your Latin book? Was it just? You read that, yeah. Yeah,
before just doing.
Is that sort of like the sister airline of Aer Lingus? Is that what that was?
Yes.
In Ireland, they're Cunnilingus and Aer Lingus, two airlines. Amazing.
Yeah.
Great.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the windmill. You took over that. How did that come to be?
Well, it's a great question. How did that come to be?
Yeah.
Jared, do you feel you can answer that for me?
I believe the Swedish invented the windmills. No?
Yeah. The Swedish, not the Dutch.
Not the Dutch. Damn it was the Dutch.
No, I love the fact that you think it's the Swedish. Swedish, well known for their windmills. That's like, they went, if only we could get that in IKEA. An IKEA
I knew it was just one of those.
It's just one of those countries.
One of those countries.
It's one of those countries in the world. It's one of those many countries
there. One of those countries that have accents like Muppets.
Those flat places there, where 90% of the people speak English, but wouldn't be one of those. No, it'd be
one of those far-off
IKEA.
Countries.
IKEA came up with windmills. That's how they got invented.
Yeah.
They then sold the idea to the Dutch, and the Dutch went, we'll carry that on, and we'll continue with windmills and tulips. We like a good flower in there as well.
Then, of course, they made their ovens.
Yeah, they love an oven. Yeah, that's it. And then they
gave those to the Nazis, I believe.
Wow, I mean, you could go there as you speak to a half Jewish person. I like it. With my grandparents escaping from occupied Austria during the Second World War.
Did they? Wow.
They did, yeah.
This isn't getting deep, but we'll go there if you want.
Yeah, I like it. That's a different podcast, I think you'll find. Darcy might not be happy if you mentioning getting deep.
Oh, I'm getting Darcy on here. Anyway,
you could do a crossover.
We can
between DC characters and Marvel characters, as you've got DC characters
right.
back there. That's called a callback, which won't appear on this podcast, but we are at least having a callback there, which I rather like.
Yeah, it is callback between comics. It's great. So, how did the windmill come to be?
Okay, so the windmill was invented in 1835, the one in Perth.
Yeah.
Shenton, who was ostracised from his family, second oldest building there, he got ostracised, started a windmill, was for obviously grain and everything else like that. At some point it became a pub, which is why it's got a grandfather licence, which means you can bring your own. And
fantastic.
A guy called Nick Hunter started the Windmill Comedy Club in 2020, and he eventually got to a point, I think, where he's just a bit tired, really, needed a break, went on a holiday, quite a long holiday, and during that time I looked after it for him. And he was just going to close it down, basically, as a club. He'd found that room, and I thought it's a really good room. It's a room where if there's 10 people in there, it feels intimate. If there's 50 people in there, it feels intimate. And I wanted to continue a positive vibe. But I did stand-up comedy because I wanted to do stand-up comedy. I never wanted to be a room runner.
Right.
It wasn't a desire of mine.
It seems like a popular stance with room runners.
What happened was that Nick said there was no one else he wanted to have the room other than me. And I'd started helping on a volunteer basis, and I tried to get him to take a break once every 3 weeks, just to have a break, because I could see he was getting tired. And I thought it's good to rotate people anyway, because you do get tired when you're volunteering every Friday. I could see he needed to spend a bit more time at home, and he was just losing his love of what he'd started, really. And I could see that, and we'd go for coffees and just chat about stuff, and it was starting to wear him down. So then I kind of asked him to carry on, really, and that I'd run it for him, but he carried on owning it, and he didn't want to do that. He's one of those guys who's like, I'm all in or I'm all out. And so I didn't...
Is he still in the scene?
No, but the door's always open.
Yeah.
So when he asked me, and we went for a drink, and he just said that, and I just, it's either no one or you. And I thought, I can't let this room die, because I thought it's a good room. I felt I could continue it. I had ideas about how I would want it to run. I wanted to maintain a positive vibe. I wanted to remind people that we're here to support the scene, not be the scene. And I didn't really feel that I had any negative relationships with people in the scene in any of the areas around Perth. And so I thought, okay, well, we can be a support to everybody else. And I always say to them, if you get a paid gig, always take the paid gig on a Friday. So reluctantly, I took over the Windmill. And then the challenge is then how you make opportunity for everybody to come along, because there's only so many spots you can have on a Friday
and
night.
now you get people messaging you
all the time.
So when you take over him, immediately you're getting, hey, looking for a spot. Yeah.
So I had clear ideas about how I wanted it to run, and I think most of those I've done, but I had no background in running a business per se. I've supported people who started businesses, and so obviously there's a lot of things that you're on a steep learning curve for. Yeah. But my initial thing was, I'll just keep this running. So then you start up as a sole trader effectively, and then things go from there. And I think you learn stuff as you go about when you put the new act on, for example. Marketing is always an interesting thing. There are people who are way ahead. I do think probably I need to upskill a lot more on those sorts of things. But as a general rule, you can't look at it as a week by week project either, because if you do that, otherwise you're just chasing the number of ticket sales this week compared to last week or whatever, and it will just do your head in. And so you got to look at it as a year-long thing and just say, over the course of a year, have we covered the costs?
Yeah, right.
And have we provided an opportunity for people to come along and have a good time? It is unique because it's a BYO venue, which also made it challenging to get the insurance.
Can you sell there as well?
No, well, you'd have to get a different license for that, and I'm not really interested in doing that. It's like the beauty is you can come along, you can bring some beers along, drink responsibly, and then if you want to go on from there and go to a pub, whatever, or if you want to go home, because at the time finish about 9:30, usually 9:45, to be honest, you can. And so all of those things for me worked. I've got some great volunteers who help out, and I think you need probably a minimum of 3 people there. I have done it with 2. It's hard, but 3 is probably the minimum number of people to make someone on the door, someone on the desk, and someone to welcome people to the seats. That's pretty much what you need.
Scheduling all these comedians. What's the fastest way to not get booked as a comedian?
I think you have to be respectful of the time.
Yeah.
Right, so I think turn up on time, and I think sometimes people get a little bit too casual on that. I think even though it is an open mic, but I think have a professional attitude would be my thing. So yes, there is currently only one paid spot, which is the MC, but I'm challenged by that a little bit, because sometimes I think there are people who MC because it's the paid spot. And I actually think, if I could, I'd rather just pay them to be an act, because I think they're developing into a very good act, and just make a decision on that. I think there are people who can do both, and there are people who probably make better MCs than they would if they did an act per se. And I think that is a challenge in our scene about how you create opportunities for people to just go, look, just become a good act, and being paid for becoming a good act would be a way to do that, but that's not an easy thing either because of the overheads, because of the insurance, etc., etc. All the things you've got to pay.
Alternatively, you could pay a closer, a headliner, and have the MC spot be someone that you change week to week for them to practice MCing. You know what I mean? Because it is something that you can, if you are wanting to become an MC, which you kind of, I wouldn't say have to as a comedian, but it is good to have that skill set. Then they get somewhere where they can get, I'm emceeing this week, it's a good chance. Same as Mad Cow, those places.
I think there are differences between rooms as well. Yeah. So I think understanding the difference between the rooms and what level as well. So there are, I think that's something that people need to be mindful of. So I think Mad Cow is very much, and again, it's up to Dan to speak to that. But I think Mad Cow isn't a really experimental room in that sense. So to me, I love that room. I think it's great. I think Dan's doing a great job there.
Oh, it's fantastic.
But it's a very different vibe, I would say, from Experimental Comedy Club. Even so, I wouldn't expect the opportunities that are afforded at Mad Cow to be afforded at, for example, Experimental Comedy Club, because I think it's a different model, and I think that's perfectly fine. And the people who run these rooms have to be confident, and it's got to work for them about what they're after and what works. So I think probably Windmill sits in between those two models. I think, but I would. So I don't think everybody who thinks they're ready to MC at the Windmill would get on as an MC.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like you, as a room runner, would have to sort of make a judgment call over that. I feel like this person, would be a good MC and give them a go. It was funny because I tell this story before, but I remember Josh Durkin MC'd at the Mad Cow a couple of times when I first started. And his stage persona or stage delivery, whatever you want to call it, is another one that's very, or usually very stoic and very deadpan. Yeah. But he was emceeing the same way. Yeah. So have you found when you MC, you have to stay in character, and that makes emceeing more difficult because the MC's job is to get the energy going?
Well, I think this is a fascinating area. The whole MC thing is not to MC or not to MC. That is the question. It's quite an interesting area because, and different people have different philosophies on it. So the job of the MC is it's not about them. It's about the other acts that are on. Okay, so I think that the MC has to make the room safe. The MC does have to be funny. I'm starting to learn to stay more in character rather than before. I would go deliberately high energy, just to get people going. I'm not convinced that you need to do that, and I've seen some excellent MCs who don't do that. Yeah. And I'm starting to more and more go with the dry persona, but you can still make the room ready and warm and still stay in character and get the room going. But the job of the MC is not the same as doing a set. So when MCs just see it as an opportunity to get through all their material and try and test it out, I'm not on board with that. I'm also not on board with when acts. This is very controversial, and this is just my personal opinion, but I don't want acts to do crowd work. I want acts to show me that they've got material. Yeah. So it's not a question of them not asking the audience a question. I think that can work for their particular act. Yeah. It's when they run out of material and start just doing crowd work, and I don't think that's your job. That's my personal opinion on it. I'm like, come on, I want either time to leave the stage, or let's see some material, or start working out, do some improv and try and working out what you're going to try and get to. In an open mic setting, that's exactly what you should be doing. Trying stuff out, see what works, what doesn't work, where are you getting the laughs? Is there something funny in what you're saying? And if there is, great, fantastic, develop it, try it again, try a different word. Sometimes it's just a key word that changes. Sometimes it's just an intonation that can make the difference between something working and not working. Sometimes you just try something and you think this should work, and it just doesn't work, right? But as an MC, I think your job is not about you. It's about making the stage right for the acts, and then making the audience feel able to enjoy the whole scene. And I think, there are people. I think Evan Willie's a fantastic MC,
I was
for
just
example.
Say he was great.
He's someone who I think excels in that role. And there are others, of course. I think Chris Picillo generally does a good job of that role. Chris is one of those guys who does both really well. Yeah. I think actually I feel like his act will become bigger and bigger.
Oh, for sure. And Tori as well is a great...
Tori's another guy who's good at... And Tarbo's good as well.
Yeah,
there are many, of
just
course.
all the guys.
Yeah, all the people you've got on there. But there are some people that I look at or I watch and I think, I'm not sure MC is the thing for you. And I think, as I say, I'd rather pay them to... do their set and say, come and just develop that, because I think you've got something more there. And I think you'll probably go on and be a great act and maybe go beyond that because you've definitely got presence. And so we just talked about Felix there, for example. I think he's a very exciting prospect of where he's going to go. But I think he's an act more than he is an MC, and that's not being critical. I think Felix would say that himself. And he's just funny. I just find him funny. I think he's got funny bones, but I think his performances, I think there's a natural comedian in there. And as his writing improves, I just think he's a very funny guy who sees angles, and he's just very funny.
He's great.
And I think he will be an outstanding act. Yeah. So that's just one example. There's obviously lots more.
Yeah.
He is also very good. Are we still filming?
Yeah.
I think Wyatt's writing is really coming on, and I just think but Mitch Glenn...
Oh, he's fantastic.
I think he's written some really good stuff.
And Wyatt, Mitch, and Nikos as well.
Yeah, I think Nikos's presence on stage, particularly at something like Gong, is excellent.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah,
his energy and his always comes across as authentic, and I think that's where he does really well. Yeah,
he excels because I feel like the crowd, any crowd, see that his authenticity, and he's laid back, whatever,
So he comes across as laid back and a little bit loose in terms of he's got that energy of it's a bit unhinged. Where's he going to go? Yeah, but he knows exactly where he's going, which I think is good. It's
great when you see acts like those guys starting to get comfortable in their delivery, their persona. Yeah. And it's not, or even not even persona. And this is what I was struggling with was I'm like, who am I on stage? And then I reached this point where I'm like, I don't want to figure that out on paper. I just want to go and have fun on stage and see what feels the best.
And I think that's another thing as well. So I think I will have a very specific audience, right? But I also think that you've got people aren't we're not all at the same pace, right? So what happens is some people get there quicker. Yeah. And then you think, oh, wow. They've discovered it earlier than I have, and you can see in their, if this is even the right word, career seems to take off quicker. Yeah, and you can feel frustrated by that because you can look at it and think, "Oh, what am I doing wrong?" And you can go back to do it, and you almost sometimes work too hard to get the returns are not the diminishing returns. Yeah, so I know what that feels like, and I think what we're all trying to do. I think the key thing you've just mentioned there is you just want to have fun. Yeah. Right? And you just need to enjoy what you're doing. Yeah. And it's not about not learning. So in other words, it is about learning. The double negative there. We mustn't, and that's the thing. I don't ever go away from something and think, I've got nothing to learn there. I learn from watching others. Like Tori, we mentioned him before. One of the things I love about Tori is he says the things that people are thinking in their head. Yeah. Right? As a parent. And you listen to Tori doing that and you go, that is what I'm thinking. And it's very relatable. Yeah. He's got the persona to carry that off. And as a result, we all engage with him, and he's warm in terms of personality. So it's a very engaging combination. Yeah. And he's got there relatively quickly, if you think about it, in terms of 5-6 years he's been going or whatever, and you just go, okay, so Tori's understood that and has got that quickly. Others don't get there as quickly, or it's a different thing. So, for me, fringe shows tend to go pretty well, and they're longer shows, obviously, but it's because people can get into the identity of the person on stage and think, oh, okay, I get what this character is doing. Yeah. But it doesn't, I always say I've written about 5 hours of comedy. I think about 2 minutes of it is good. The 4 hours, 58 minutes maybe needs some work.
When did you start? What year did you start?
So I started in 2021.
Right, okay.
Yeah. it's fun going. So my first ever show was at the Comedy Lounge.
Yeah.
Benny Darso was the MC, and I went on and did. He said he thought I did an hour's worth of comedy in 5 minutes, but I was also faced with an audience that was spread out wearing masks.
Right.
So can you imagine what that looks like? It's like you can't see them laughing at whatever. Well, they probably weren't laughing at what I was saying, to be fair, but you can't see them laughing even if they were laughing. Yeah.
So, and then, so what is next? Are there any plans to expand or anything with Windmill? Is it going to stay pretty much consistent the same? Or like where's Ant going to be in 10 years?
Well, probably retired from teaching, probably 10 years' time, maybe. I think you just got to enjoy the moment for what it is. I do think sometimes, look, how could we expand this? I'd love to do some work in progress shows. Yeah. I don't want the challenge is I don't want to compete with people who are running shows at the same time.
Yeah.
So there is the Saturday 6 o'clock show, which I know it's a different audience, but I want to be respectful of the other people who are running rooms, etc. Yeah. And working together is a big thing for me. I like team. I like working with others. I'm not against anybody, but I do think there's a place for some work in progress so that people can do their 15 to 20 minutes and test it out, and you sell it very much as this is a work in progress.
Yeah.
I think sometimes I do have ideas about doing another night in the week, but I also am aware that one, you need volunteers. Two, there's quite a lot, now on the scene at the moment.
7 days a week.
Is there a Sunday? Maybe occasionally at Cookers. Maybe
occasionally at Cookers. Yeah, but I think that changes day to day, week to week. Yeah. But like any day of the week, you'll be not competing with someone, but you'll be competing with someone, like another room. So. But I do like that idea. I mean, I like the idea of having 5 comics on each doing 20 minutes, not 20 minutes, but 15 minutes each.
Well, I mean, even if you did 20 minutes, you just sell it as an hour and a half show. And you just MC it. And I think it gives opportunity, because the challenge is, where are the rooms where you can... I know Chris is probably, his room is doing a little bit of that. I think Xavier's doing that to some extent as well, some of his rooms. But basically... there aren't enough rooms, and for me, I'm always bucking the trend. But it's partly, I think it is the teacher in me. I want to give opportunity for people who don't know what 7 minutes looks like, and don't know what 10 minutes looks like, even though they're not as experienced and haven't, if you like, earned the right to be doing that. But I just think then they suddenly go, oh, I remember doing that with a comedian guy, and he was going to do a fringe show, and I said, have you ever done more than 7 minutes? And they said no. So I put them on for longer, and they came off and went, oh, I've got to start writing. And you go, yep, you definitely have to start writing, because otherwise I don't know how you're going to do an hour.
Right.
And so there are those moments as well. Yeah.
And you've got a fringe show coming up.
Yeah, I've got a fringe show.
If you want to plug that as we wrap.
Yeah, obviously, Complain Ant.
Yes.
Last year it was Intelligent. And I did enjoy that. I did that in Sydney, and it made me laugh because they missed out an L. So I said, oh, you've got my poster wrong. And they were going, oh, sorry. I said, you spelt it wrong. Well, intelligent is obviously spelled ENT at the end. So I was enjoying that they were apologising for me for spelling it wrong when it's already spelt wrong. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that made me laugh. I do enjoy that. I love the surrealness of that, or the dryness of just expressing that dryly, and people not understanding that. But this show, Complain Ant, is probably putting the last 4.5 years of stuff together and taking the best bits of that. So as I say, it should only be about 2 minutes long. It's not an hour long. There is more than an hour but I can't squeeze it into an hour. So I'll just pick the best bits, or the bits that fit with the style that people who come and see me particularly like. There are some bits from this year. There are lots of bits actually that I've written this year that are not included in the show, which I will put into next year's whatever I do.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's leave it there.
Thank you very much.
As everything's about to die on its ass.
I hope that went well.
It was swimmingly. Well done. And make sure you follow Ant. Oh, your social media is...
Yep. So I'm Ant M Comedy on Facebook, and I'm Ant Meczes on Instagram. I am on the Tok and the tick tick. But
he's well over 16, so he's allowed to be on
that.
Yeah,
and I never follow anyone on that. It's creepy enough. I don't like it. So I'm on TikTok. I'm on YouTube as well, where you can actually see some longer sets if you can bear it.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, man.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming down.
Thanks.
And see you next week. Thank you.
Take care.
See you later.